Welcome back, House of Five family. I am so excited for our YouTube video today. We are talking to Diania Merriam, and she is going to be putting on this fantastic conference that's coming up in March called EconoME. And so I'm just so excited to talk to her today. She's a friend and we've met in person before, but it's so good to have these good in-depth conversations. So Diania, welcome to
Thank
the
you so much
show.
for having me. This is super fun. I've done a lot of podcasts, but I've never done like this format where it's like a video conversation on YouTube.
Awesome.
So
Yes,
this is
on the
fun.
first one.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks for doing this on such short
Yeah. No,
notice.
thank you. This is awesome. It's such a fun time for me to be
Hmm.
talking about what's going on at the conference because it's like all coming together.
Yeah,
And
it's like a month away.
I mean, it's less than 5 weeks now. On the 7th, it'll be exactly a month away. So
Yeah,
it's just, it's like, it's blowing up. Like, it's just unbelievable how
that's
well it's
so
coming together.
cool.
And I'm like so overjoyed. I mean, the last time I talked to you, I was in
Yeah, you
like,
were nervous.
I was so nervous. I mean, yeah, it's really come along and I'm just so happy with where it's at and
Yeah,
where ticket sales are. And like now I'm just in this place where I'm just really focused on like attendee experience and making
yeah,
sure that everyone that comes is blown away by it.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. I'm so excited that you reached out. I've been debating this whole year. Well, this whole year, it's only a month long, but basically since FinCon, because after FinCon, I had like uh, kind of like this dark depression, anxiety that took over. And
Oh, I know.
really, I'm so glad to hear that because I've never had that happen before. I mean, I
Me
was in
neither.
my bedroom, like in the dark, like for a month. I didn't want to go anywhere. I didn't want to do anything. And I think what happened was I thought it was going to be a lot different than it was. And I think I was so
Mhm.
overwhelmed. And then I had
Yeah.
all of that like imposter crap
Yep.
going on in my head.
Yep.
And I just felt so deflated. I had put in all of this hard work into the podcast for a year. And then to
Mhm.
just go there and feel like just this tiny little ant in this big, huge
Yeah.
colony. And so yeah, I had to do a lot of thinking, and then we went to the Portugal Chautauqua, and I just said, I think I just need to hit pause for a little
Yeah.
while and really figure this out. Like, what am I doing this for? Who am I doing this for?
Right.
And it was much needed, and I feel so much better now.
Good. Well, I had a very similar experience. I actually went through a 5-month depression
Oh
that was really,
wow,
really hard.
yeah.
I would say that I really started to turn a corner like mid-December, but
Hmm.
mid-July through mid-December, and that was when I was like doing all these podcast recordings and like
Hmm.
I pushed myself to do them, but I hated it. And like even going to FinCon, I'm actually a really extroverted person. I
Yeah,
really enjoy those kind of big events, but I didn't feel like I could connect with anyone because I really wasn't feeling like myself. And I was
right.
so insecure and like I wanted to cancel the conference and I didn't want to
Oh,
talk to anyone. So I'm glad that like things have really changed for me
right.
and that I'm past a lot of like that. I think it's almost like growing pains,
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
I think part of it now because at first I thought I was like bipolar or something. I
Right.
really did
Right.
because there were months before my crash that like I was waking up at 4 in the morning and hopping out of bed and starting to work because I
Mhm.
was so excited to work on this thing.
Yeah.
And then it was almost like I hit a wall and then I
Mhm.
started spiraling downward and I didn't see an end to it.
Right.
And I spent thousands of dollars on doctors trying to figure it out. And ultimately, first of all, two doctors were like 100% sure that I'm not bipolar. So at least we ruled
Yeah.
that out. Yeah.
Whew.
But I think what it probably was almost like the natural highs and lows of entrepreneurship that I
Mhm.
didn't realize how unequipped I was for that roller
Mhm.
coaster because I've had a high pressure job in an agency in New York City where our office is in the Empire State Building, and we have clients like Budweiser and Coca-Cola and Drew Barrymore and like all this celebrity stuff. Like, I just feel like I've been in high pressure environments for a really long time. So I thought that I would be able to handle it, but it's just so different when it's your own thing. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's like when it's only you and you feel so alone and you feel isolated, and you you have that imposter syndrome and you
Mm-hmm.
don't know how to ask for help because you don't even know what you need.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it's it was scary. Like,
Yeah.
I really was scared, and I really thought I was going to have to cancel this conference. And so
Oh,
I
I'm
ended
so
up
glad you didn't.
I know, me too, because now I'm like so back in the good place and so in love with it. And it's going so well that I think about how I felt when I was going to cancel it. And I'm just so happy that I stuck it out. And maybe
Yeah.
part of it is just being a little bit stubborn.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was a period of time where I just thought, like, this is going to be a disaster. I can't do this. And now I'm like, you know what? I can do this, and I am doing this.
Right. That's
Yeah.
right. Oh, that's
Yeah.
so good. Oh my gosh. This is such a great conversation already. We haven't even
We
started
haven't
yet.
even started yet.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. Hey guys, I just wanted to take a second really quick and just share with you that if you are having difficulty just even knowing where to start with your budget, or just you want to do an overhaul of your finances, then we have this awesome workbook for you. It's a 130-page bound workbook and journal. It's got some great trackers in there. It's got the steps to follow to just really go from scratch in your budget. And it's designed for people who want to dump debt and build wealth when they really are in a place of zero. We started our financial independence journey at less than zero. We were in about $1 million worth of debt. And these are the steps that we use to just attack that debt one by one and start saving and increase our savings rate. And so we want to share the things that we did with you and help you build your wealth and dump your debt. We'll put a link for that down below, guys. Take care. But we were talking just a few minutes ago before we started recording about kind of going to FinCon last year, and both of us having kind of this experience of depression. It sounds like yours happened a little bit before and then carried
Yeah.
through, and mine was right after. And I think it's so important to talk about mental health and finances,
Mhm.
but also as influencers, as people who are trying to reach out and help the community, that we're experiencing some of that too. And so
Oh,
how do
yeah.
we work through that? How do we, number one, recognize that that's what's going on? And then
Mhm.
number two, what steps do you take to take care of yourself and kind
Sure.
of work through that discomfort?
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you on that. I mean, I think for me, we were just talking about how, like, I was very confused when I hit this wall of depression because up before, like, it probably started around mid-July, and before that I had been so enthusiastically like jumping out of bed at 4 in the morning because I was so excited to work on my thing. And I called like 150 people before I got my 9 speakers for this conference that we'll talk about.
Yeah.
And I'm reaching out for sponsors, and I'm getting on all these podcasts, and I was really, really enjoying it. And I was working really hard on top of my full-time job. That's like my paid employment. So, I felt like I had 2 full-time jobs, but I had so much energy and enthusiasm and passion for this that it really kind of carried me through, and it didn't feel like work. It felt very effortless. I felt like I was getting into that flow state a lot. Like, I would
Hmm.
sit down at my computer and like hours would go by, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, I should probably eat something." And
Right.
it's I think what may have happened is that you think about work stress and you think about the negative kind of work stress where you're anxious and you're strung out, and you're kind of stewing in negativity. But I think my experience showed me that there might be an opposite end to that, where you could almost be a little too excited about something. And
Hmm.
like, in either side of the spectrum, whether you're like overly manic about something or overly negative about something, I think what you're really doing is you're not allowing yourself to rest and disconnect from it. And that's even though I was having a really good time, I was thinking about it constantly.
Right.
And I was sleeping, but I wasn't sleeping a lot because I was just so excited to get up and seize the day,
Right, right,
and
right.
I think in our, we talk a lot about in finances, like, the culture of, our consumerist materialistic culture and how we're trying to kind of fight against those social norms. But there are also norms around work and entrepreneurship. And you would think that the person that's so excited to get up at 4 a.m. to work on their side hustle, that seems like it would be a good thing. But in my experience, I hit a wall, and it
Mhm.
was like I realized I was tired. And so I laid down for 5 months. I mean, it
Right,
was really hard
right.
to go from being like just just charging ahead to then like literally not having any energy, feeling really insecure, not confident, and then it just started to like spiral.
Right.
And I had to dig my way out of it. But when I met you in person at FinCon, like I was really in the thick of it.
Yeah.
And I'm such an extroverted person that for me to go to a big event like that, where I normally would get very energized from the people I was meeting, all I wanted to do was hide.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't connecting with anyone. I wasn't excited to talk about economy. I was feeling really insecure about it. I thought
Mhm.
like I should just cancel this thing. I can't do it, and
Yeah.
so it was hard to be at FinCon because you see all these people doing these big things and like building relationships and friendships. And if you don't feel like you're like a part of it,
Right.
it can be hard. Yeah.
Right. Right. And then, think when you're in the thick of that, when you're in the thick of kind of that dark moment, and I just picture myself like in my bedroom and it's dark in there, and I,
Yeah.
it just didn't want to come out. Like I just wanted to stay in the, and then you start feeling all of these other feelings like I should be getting up,
Oh
but
yeah.
I don't want to. And then the guilt for that. And yeah,
It's
it's
like
a,
layer on top of layer with
mhm,
the feeling bad about feeling bad.
mhm.
You just can continue to layer on ways you're torturing yourself.
What
Yeah.
helped bring you out of that? Kind of what were some of the things that you did to bring you out of that?
So, a couple of things. I think, I went to a couple doctors because, again, I told you before, I was like terrified. I was bipolar or something. To go from
Right.
such a high to such a low was like,
Yeah.
I've never experienced anything like that before. And so, it was like reassuring to get like 100% certainty from doctors, like, you're not bipolar, you're fine.
Mm,
It's just that I think recognizing that the skill set that I needed emotionally to tackle entrepreneurship is not the same skill set that has served me well as an employee. And
mhm,
I guess I just naively like didn't anticipate that I wouldn't be able to handle the roller coaster ride of entrepreneurship. So
mhm.
I think I didn't have the emotional tools in my toolbox at the time. And so recognizing that I needed to be comfortable with the uncertainty, that I needed to be willing to make mistakes, that things aren't going to be perfect and I just need to put them out there anyway, because
Right.
done is better than perfect.
Right.
And, in my corporate career, that's not the way it is. Like we make sure everything's perfect before it goes
Right.
out. So it
Right.
had to be a shift in mentality. And also, I think I recognized that everyone that I would talk to about this conference, everyone has so many opinions, right? Like, you
Mhm.
should be doing this, you should market it this way, you should position it this way. Everyone had such amazing suggestions, but I found that I was really susceptible to other people's opinions. And I didn't
Mhm.
have like a strong enough internal compass to say, thank you so much for like offering me that idea. I'm actually not going to do that because of these reasons. Like to have a
Right.
firm conviction of like,
Right.
this is my business and my event. How do
Right.
I want to do it?
Right.
And like being able to take people's feedback or criticism like objectively,
Mhm.
and not like take it personally that like I'm doing this wrong, because there's no
Right.
way to do it wrong.
Right.
You're creating something. I mean, that's
Exactly.
what's exciting about it, is that it's new and you get to decide how you're going to do it. And you can learn from other people that have gone before you. But I have some mentors that have planned events, but my event's so different from them and from theirs, and I'm starting from a different starting point,
Right.
and I'm working towards a different audience. So the things that worked for other people won't necessarily work for me. And I'm the only person that sees the bigger picture. So
Right.
to kind of trust myself that I'm going to make decisions based on like my internal conviction of what's the right thing to do versus being so swept away by people that I feel like knew more than me.
Mm-hmm.
I needed to make that transition, and that took me a lot of time. I also think that I really started to prioritize self-care.
Mm,
And I started working with a coach who is amazing. And I think what she did for me is what I couldn't do for myself, which is give myself some freaking compassion,
right.
right?
Yes.
Because you feel bad and then you beat yourself up for feeling bad. And then you find more reasons to be negative. And it just kind of, the negativity keeps fueling itself and you start to spiral down and down. And so I would meet with her once a week. And we started out kind of with traditional coaching where we would kind of come up with like, what do I need to do in this next week? What's the bare minimum? What's the one email that I can send? Can
Mm-hmm.
I make sure I take a shower daily? I mean, we were like getting
Mm-hmm.
into that
Yeah.
level of like, how do I just do one thing? It could be walking around the block, but I just
Mm-hmm.
got to try to do one thing.
Right.
And I would fail for like weeks. I would come back and I like wouldn't do what we said I was going to do.
Mm,
And then it was like, okay, how do we let this be okay?
mm,
Right.
yeah.
And it wasn't like she was that accountability, like laying down the law. You
Right.
gotta hustle through this. It was like, no, you didn't do the thing. And let's let that be okay. And she just showed me so much compassion that I couldn't give to myself, that I think it really started to like gently pull me out of it, because
Right.
she was teaching me how to treat myself the way she was treating me.
Mm-hmm.
um she also recommended this like YouTube channel for meditation and positive affirmations.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because when she first tried to get me to do affirmations, I thought it was so cheesy. I'm
Oh,
like, this is
yes.
dumb. This is so dumb.
So
I
much.
actually, in my notebook, she told me, I still have this post-it. So this one week, she was really pushing me to try affirmations. And I was like, fine. So I wrote down, and I still have it like right here on this little post-it that I have in my notebook. I wrote down 2 things that I really did not believe were true. And
Mhm.
like, every time I would like say them to myself, it was almost like I'd roll my eyes internally because I didn't
Right.
believe it was true.
Right.
And these were the 2 statements. Number 1 is, I trust myself.
Mm.
That felt like bullshit at the time,
Mm-hmm.
right? The second
Mm-hmm.
one is, the way I'm feeling is not a problem.
Mm.
It's the way I'm feeling. It's not a
Yeah.
problem. I
Right.
can let that be okay. I can
Right.
just feel the feelings.
You're right.
And at the time, I hated these affirmations. And now I look at them and I'm like, you know what? I do trust myself. I am capable of doing this conference, and I am doing it. And
Mm-hmm.
then the way I'm feeling is not a problem. Yeah, that does feel very true for me, because the way I'm feeling is just a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
I can sit with it and let it run its course and not let it, you know, get out of control, I guess you could say.
I forget what it was specifically, but what you just said about what I'm feeling is just a feeling. Like, it's a feeling. It doesn't. Yes, you feel it, and it can make you project certain things on the world, but in and of itself, it's not a thing. If
Right.
you like just sit in it and write it out, like, you will have a different feeling, a new feeling, and that feeling will pass. And that's fine, because that's what we do, you know.
Right.
Oh, so I just love that. And I love the other thing that you just said, about done is better than perfect. And
Mhm.
that was something that helped me get through switching over to doing a YouTube channel, as
Mhm.
opposed to the podcast. And oh, I got to have the right camera, and I've got to have, this, and this before I can start recording. And I would push it off and push it off. And I was like, no, just look, all you have right now is your iPad. You'll get the camera later. Just get to it, because if you don't, it's just not going to happen. You're going to find a
But look
reason.
at you. You got your little stage back there, your sign behind you.
I
Like, you got
see.
it, girl.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I'm little things here and there, like even the room color. The room color was before was because it was painted like this little girl's like bright, like aqua.
Mm.
And so
Mhm.
now it's like my calm blue, and I come in
It's really
here and
nice. Very
thank
pretty.
you. Thank
Mhm.
you. But I don't want to get away from the fact of what we're going to be, talking about. And that is that this amazing conference that you have put together for yourself, and you do have this vision for it. And so I want to ask you, what was the spark that made you say, I want to put on a conference, and this is why I want to put it on, and this is who it's going to be for.
Sure. So first and foremost, the FIRE movement and discovering the FIRE movement, specifically the blog Mr. Money Mustache, completely changed my life.
Mm.
At the time that I found that blog, it was probably the fall of 2015,
Mm-hmm.
which is crazy. It was like less than 5 years ago.
Right.
I was living in New York City. I was 30 grand in debt, and I had a pretty good job, which I still have today, but like I just felt like there was something missing. I was so career oriented in my 20s that at the expense of every other area of my life, that this kind of focus on getting out of debt really changed me.
Mm-hmm.
I used to look at having to reduce spending as like deprivation, but there
Right.
was something about reading this blog that it allowed me to like tap into my own creativity and resourcefulness, because the
Mm-hmm.
things that I was doing to get my needs met were super fun. Like I stopped going out every night, for dinner and like partying all the time. And I would
Mm-hmm.
host these elaborate dinner parties at my house where like I
That
would
sounds
cook.
so New York.
Yeah, I would cook this great food, and like everybody else would bring the booze, and I would like invent little games for us to play. It was almost like I made my apartment more fun than a bar. And that was like really gratifying, but it was also resourceful, and it reduced my expenses of like going out all the time.
Right.
And so cooking became like a real passion of mine.
Mm-hmm.
Just it started as wanting to reduce expenses, but then it just turned into like a more efficient way to use my time with meal planning. I was eating better. It was
Right.
lowered my expenses, and I felt really creative in like the meals I would create. So
Mm-hmm.
I just loved everything about that experience. And then even little things like clothing.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than going out and buying new clothing, I would host these clothing exchanges where like
Nice.
we'd all, friends would clean out their closets, and my friends are a hell of a lot more fashionable than me, so I would get to benefit from their like hand-me-downs. And I split my internet bill with the people who live below me, and was like
Wow.
always looking for a way to barter or share. Or we even like in my apartment building, we kind of formed this little like sharing community where we would all like my neighbors would use my vacuum cleaner when they needed it, and
Uh-huh.
like we would just share because we were right there.
I
you know
love
i
it.
i used to joke with them that convenience was the ultimate friendship builder, because
Yeah.
it's like we all just lived in this apartment building. So
That's so
that
cool.
experience not only got me out of debt, out of 30 grand of debt in 11 months,
Mm, that's
and I
nice.
was making a lot less than I am now. um you know that whole experience kind of, again, helped me tap into my creativity and made me feel like anything was possible.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, make sure when your money is right, it almost feels like your life is more expansive. And
Mm-hmm.
so after that, I started saving about 60% of my income.
That's
And
nuts.
yeah, and I
That's
still
nuts.
do today. I mean, I went from
And
30
you're
grand in
still
debt.
in New York when you're
Yeah,
saving 60%. That's
right.
incredible.
Yeah, it was awesome. And I ended up asking my employer to let me move to Cincinnati and work remotely. So I moved to the lowest cost of living metro area in the US. To come from New York City to here,
Right.
it's incredible. Just the difference. I think that Cincinnati has everything you'd want out of a big city and like none of the downsides. It's
What made
awesome.
you choose Cincinnati?
I wish I could say that it was super strategic and like I was going for the lower cost of living, but
Mm-hmm.
honestly, it was because I knew that I was going to be away for 2 months. In the fall of 2017, I walked the Camino, which
Right.
is it's a 500-mile trek across Spain.
Ah,
So I took 2 months
amazing.
off to do that. And I knew that my landlord wasn't going to let me sublet my apartment. So I was going to have to move anyway. It was like, if I'm going to move, why not just push myself to try something new? So I had a friend that I was really close to in New York, and she went to school in Cincinnati and ended up moving back here. So I
Mm-hmm.
visited her a few times and I just
Mm-hmm.
liked it.
That's
So I thought, like,
awesome.
let me try. Let me just
Right.
try.
Right.
Yeah. And then it had this like side benefit of being like crazy low cost of living.
Right.
The fact that the FIRE movement like really changed my life is what I think many of us
Hmm.
feel the need to pay it forward.
Yeah.
And so I looked at, there are so many podcasts and blogs and books out there, and I feel like there's so many eloquent people talking about this stuff very well. But I saw white space in events.
Hmm.
And I go to a lot of events, both professionally and for my personally. My favorite event is World Domination Summit, which I don't know if
Hmm.
you've ever heard of it, but it sounds like something that's produced by like Pinky and the Brain or something. But
I know, right?
it's a yearly conference in Portland, and they bring together like 2,000 people or something like that. Mr. Money Mustache spoke at it one year, so that's what put it on my radar. And I went the next year, and it's just like all these people living really unconventional lives. And
Mm,
it's a very well run event that has a very high production value. But you're like sitting in this audience and listening to an amazing speaker, and you're surrounded by really open minded and open hearted people. The
that's
people
awesome.
that I've met at World Domination Summit, this is going to be my 4th year going. And
Hmm.
this is actually the last year they're doing it. So
Oh,
I'm so
wow.
sad that it's ending. But there's this feeling that I feel when I'm there and when the people that I meet. And again, it's that feeling of my life feels so expansive and there's so much opportunity out there, and it just gets those wheels turning.
Yeah.
So I was really motivated to create that feeling
Hmm.
for people about the FIRE movement.
Yeah.
That's why I'm producing this event. And I can see it. Like now I'm in this place where we're a month out, and all of the little details down to like the music, the lighting, the coffee we're going to serve, the flow of traffic, the volunteer t-shirts, the after party with the badass band that I booked, like every detail of
Yeah.
this event, I can just see it. And more than see it, I can feel it. I can feel what it's going to feel like to sit in that audience and listen to these incredible speakers.
Yes.
Half of them I've already like read their speeches, and they're amazing.
Yeah.
Just incredible. So, I mean, to say I'm excited is like, it's not a big enough word.
Right, right. Well, you keep saying expansive, and I love that word because I just think of like just ripples and just like, you know, going on forever and just this excitement that you can't contain. So I love it. It's a perfect word. And just the speakers that you have coming on are going to be amazing. I've seen the lineup. It's awesome. And I can't
Oof.
wait for it myself. I'm so excited.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
so who should come to this? Who do you think there, do you have an idea of what someone coming to it looks like? Or are we saying like, this is like for everyone? What
So
in your mind are you thinking?
I look at my audience as threefold. First of all, it's for people like me who are already pursuing financial independence. Like
Hmm.
I know that I'm 8 years away, and I really believe that like community keeps you on the path.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
so I tell people, if you're on the path to financial independence, come to EconoME to kind of fuel the fire. I think when we meet
Hmm.
other like-minded people and we engage in this content consistently, it kind of keeps our commitment to our goals. It's the same
Yeah.
reason why anyone would be in a mastermind group. It's the same reason why people go to church every Sunday. Not that this
Hmm.
is a religion, let's not go there, right? But you know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like, there's a reason why you do that. And
Yeah.
so I think that to be continually staying in touch with your values is why you put things like this on your calendar.
Hmm.
So that's the first part of the audience. The second part of the audience, I think, are people who are maybe financially literate or financially savvy, but they're looking to be re-inspired by their finances. So think about someone who's like done a Dave Ramsey program, or maybe they're out of debt, but they're not so like excited about where they're going, or
Hmm.
they don't even know that they could kind of expedite their path to
Right.
retirement, or they could think about what do I want to do with my time if I didn't need to make money.
Hmm.
I think that there's a lot of content that would really benefit that kind of person. And then the last part of the audience, certainly not least, I am so excited to invite students to EconoME, because
Yes.
from
Yes.
my perspective, like doing it at the University of Cincinnati was a huge win, because it
Yes.
it gives me access to the students. And We're actually launching a huge marketing campaign this week. I'll be on campus tomorrow with the team of students that's helping me. We
That's
are
so great.
flooding the campus with 250 posters. We're doing a flyering campaign with 1,200 flyers will be handed out over the course of 4 weeks, and we're tying that to a social media activation to spread the word.
Oh, that's going to
But
be
like,
so cool.
even before we're launching this big marketing campaign, I'm already getting sales for student tickets coming in. I'm offering them half price because I really wanted
Oh,
to make it accessible to them.
yeah,
But I've been on campus a ton talking to students about the FIRE movement, most of which have never heard of it,
yeah.
but they're in the best position to pursue financial independence because they have the power of compound interest on their side. They have
The
so much
time.
time. Even if they
Hmm.
invested like $10 today,
Yeah,
imagine what, like
yeah.
you just small amounts today really adds up over time. Um, and then the other reason I think that they're in the best position to pursue FI is because aside from their student loan debt, they likely haven't made a ton of financial mistakes that they have to dig out of.
Right.
Many of us who learned it later, we almost had to like dig out of, dig out of the debt before
Right.
we could, really
Before you get to
supercharge
zero.
the path.
Yeah.
Exactly. You got to get to zero first. So I'm just so excited to like talk to them. And I got to tell you, the students that I did like a 30 student focus group a couple weeks ago, and they totally helped me like rework the poster to make
Hmm.
sure that I was communicating the value from their perspective because they
Nice.
loved it. And
Yeah.
they were so smart and they asked such good questions and they were so curious about this. And I thought to myself, as much as we talked earlier about like dealing with my own insecurities and like, having to put myself out there has been a really hard part of this project because I look at myself as an event organizer. I'm not
Hmm.
an influencer.
Yeah.
I'm not someone, that come to me for financial advice. Like I don't look at myself that way. I look at
Right.
myself as literally creating a stage for the people that are that. And that's the
Hmm.
speakers. They're the smart ones. They're the ones creating the content. But then when I get in front of these student groups and I tell them my story and I tell them why I feel a FIRE is important, I can see the impact that it's having on them and the questions that they're asking. It's just so gratifying,
Yeah.
to see that, wow, when I was that age, I didn't know anyone like me. I
Hmm.
didn't have any examples of someone like me.
No,
So I almost feel like a sense of responsibility. Like if I want to pay this forward, like this is my opportunity to do that.
absolutely. Ah,
Yeah.
I love it. I can't wait. I can't wait. So if people want to find out more, where do they go?
So you go to my website, which it's okay. So it's economy ME, not
Right.
MY.
Right.
Little play on words there. So it's economeconference.com. There you'll be able to buy tickets. You can read about the speakers. The full schedule is up. Information about the after party, which is going to be amazing. And then we also have 3 free meetup events happening on Sunday. And the intention of those is really to highlight the city of Cincinnati as the best city to pursue FI. I
Love it.
truly believe that it is. I will prove it to you if you come to EconoME.
Right.
And so there are 3, you don't even need to come to EconoME. If you just want to come and participate we're doing an urban hike that's facilitated by a historian who is fascinating. I did one of his hikes and I hung on to every word. He's so interesting.
That's cool.
We're doing a brewery tour because Cincinnati is really known for breweries. And we're also doing a dog park meetup for our furry friend,
Oh, that's fun.
our furry, financially minded friends. So anyway, yes, go to economeconference.com. You'll learn all about the schedule. Also, I don't think we mentioned that I'm screening Playing with Fire at the
Oh,
event.
yes. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah, if
definitely.
you haven't seen the movie, you'll get the opportunity to see it in the venue that we're in the student center. We're in the Great Hall, which is this really amazing space. I have room for 700 people to enjoy
Wow.
EconoME, which is
That's
great.
wonderful.
And then we also have a movie theater in that same building that seats 200. So people can go and see the movie during the midday break, or you can sign up to do what I'm calling attendee-led meetups. And so that's just gathering with like-minded people to talk about things like real estate or investing or entrepreneurship or healthcare options for early retirement, which is something that, really kind of makes people hesitate about retiring
Yeah.
early. So yeah, we've got like 6 topics. that you can go to this breakout session. But the full schedule is on the website.
Love it.
All the speakers, buy tickets. This is like my third podcast today. So I'm like, what did I not tell you yet?
You told me everything. I love it. I cannot wait. It's going to be a good time. And just, I can't wait to just hang out with you again and just see how awesome that this is going to be. I think that you're on to something. Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed that interview with Diania. She is incredible, and this conference, the EconoME Conference, is going to be incredible. She was gracious and has provided our listeners with a discount to the conference. You get 10% off with the discount code House of Fi. So HOUSEOFFI, and you get 10% of your tickets. And if you end up going, let me know so that we can connect with each other there. We'll see you. Bye.